Because of the expediency factor, the E factor that we've talked about, because most people are seeking the fastest and easiest way to get the things they want today, very few ever consider disciplining themselves to become the best. Many people complain about shoddy workmanship and poor service in restaurants and poor products from our manufacturing industries. But you will find that the excellent companies, the organizations that make the profits, the ones that are stable in good times and bad, the ones that continue to grow, those are the ones that do something in an excellent fashion. Those are the ones that take the time and make the effort, that go the extra distance to make sure that the products they produce are excellent. One of the reasons why Japanese cars have swamped North America in the last few years is because the Japanese take tremendous pride in the quality of what they build, and they consider it a personal offense if one of their vehicles doesn't work well. I've worked with Japanese automakers introducing new vehicles into the United States and Canada, and they will send entire teams of technicians over to correct defects in cars rather than have people think that the cars are made in a defective way. When you begin moving toward excellence, you will find that there's very little real competition. Remember, the people in the top 20% aren't competing with the people in the bottom 80%. They're only competing with the people in the top 20%, and they're competing for degrees of excellence. Remember the 3 keys to excellence. Number 1 is know what you're doing. Take the time, learn, study, research, ask questions. Learn everything there is to know about your chosen field. Number 2 is believe in what you're doing. You can never become excellent doing something unless you really believe that you're making a difference, unless you really believe that your product or your service or your efforts are really important in the world. And number 3, love what you're doing. And this is the key. Listen to your intuition. Listen to your gut feeling. What is it that you really love to do? And don't make any excuses. Many people say, well, if I did what I love to do, there'd be no money in it. It doesn't really matter about the money. What matters is that you fulfill your unique potential as a human being, and you can only do it if you really love what you're doing. One of my favorite lines is from Karen Robin, and it says, "To be all we can be, we must dream of being more. To do all that is possible, we must attempt the impossible." Tony Robbins says you only know how far you can go by going too far. Every day, visualize yourself as excellent in your field. I spoke to an executive from a major manufacturing company who was telling me about a salesman that they had brought on staff 6 months ago. The salesman had no experience in the industry, but within 6 months, he was the top salesman in the country. And they asked him why it was that he was able to start with no experience or background in the industry and become the top in just 6 months. And he said, well, I don't know really. He said, but there's one thing that I do every day that I think has helped me. And he said, every day when I get in the car for the first 10 or 15 minutes, as I'm driving to my first appointment, I say over and over again, I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best. And I found that if you say over and over again, I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best, repeat it over and over again, it drives it down into the subconscious mind and it causes you to perform better than sometimes you can imagine. So make the decision, visualize, affirm, repeat over and over again. Visualize, see yourself as the very best in your field, and think about how you would look, what you would be, what qualities and attributes you would have, who you'd be working with, how you would dress, how you would walk, and so on. If you'll do that, there's nothing that can stop you from going to the top in your field. Do something every day to improve. Study your performance. Review and reflect on what you're doing and what you would do differently. Here's the 2 best questions I've ever learned for achieving excellence. After every performance, after every situation, after every time you have engaged in an act in your work, step back and ask yourself, what did I do right? And review your performance. Say, what did I do right? And if possible, write it down. And number 2, ask yourself, what would I do differently? How could I improve it next time? You see, if you review what you did right, and if you think about what you would do differently, as you review and reiterate these points, you drive them into the subconscious. They go into your programming so that the next time you're in the identical situation, your subconscious mind, looking out through your eyes, will say, I've been here before, and here's the right things to do. The big mistake and the biggest mistake that you can possibly make is to review what you did wrong. Because if you review what you did wrong, inevitably you will program that into the subconscious mind, and in the next similar situation, you will repeat the wrong performance. So always think about what you did right. Always think about how you would improve. And here's the key to peak performance. And this comes from the research into peak performance. Prior to every important experience or situation, take a few minutes to recall your previous excellent performance in this area and relive it in your mind. and then go into the situation. Now, what is it that failures do? Failures also relive their performances, but before every important experience, what they do is they relive their failures. So be a peak performer. Be excellent. Strive for excellence, and always review and think about your top performances. Think about yourself performing at your very best in every situation. Every time you review it, every time you visualize it, every time you think about it, you drive that pattern of superior performance into the subconscious as a habit. Seek out advice from other people who are good at their work. Ask the top people in your field. Ask them for recommendations on books, tapes, and courses. I have a good friend who is in the insurance industry, and when he went into the insurance industry, he made the decision that he was going to be good, and he worked hard, and he read books, and he took the courses, and he listened to tapes, and within a year, he was one of the top salesmen in his company, and he was sent to the national convention. At the national convention, they had the top salesman in the whole nation, and the top salesman came up on the stage, and they received prizes and awards, and it was pretty much the same people every year. And after the prize ceremony, he went to each of these top 5 or 10 salespeople over the course of the 2-day convention, and with a tape recorder, he said, "Could I have a few minutes of your time?" And he sat down with them, and he interviewed them, and he asked them, "What books do you read? And how did you become successful? And what courses do you take? And what recommendations could you give me if I want to be more successful in this industry?" He said that they were very, very helpful. He was amazed. Not one of them turned him down. And he got some of the best advice that he possibly could from these people. And he was amazed at a second point. He said they told him during the course of these interviews that even though they had been the top salesmen in the companies for years, nobody had ever sat down and asked them for their advice. That nobody had ever gone to them and said, "Could you help me to be more successful too?" So seek out winners in your field, and you'll be astonished. Winners will always help other people win. Winners will always give you advice and tell you what books to read and what tapes to listen to. So seek out the very best people in your field and say, "I want to be good like you. What can I do? What can I change? How can I improve? What can I read?" And they'll give you the advice. And then finally, never even consider the possibility of not achieving your goal of excellence. If anyone else has done it, so can you. And I'm not saying that to achieve excellence is easy. It's very difficult. It requires tremendous self-discipline. It requires tremendous work on yourself. It requires hours and hours of arduous effort late at night instead of watching television or having fun. It requires a tremendous commitment. But every single step that you make on the road to excellence and every single excellent performance that follows will build your self-esteem, make you feel terrific about yourself. It'll increase your income. It'll enhance your self-image and improve the overall quality of every area of your life. Commit yourself to excellence and get on that road to excellence and never stop until you achieve it. And one final point on excellence, remember that excellence is a journey. It is not a destination. That you never arrive at excellence. That the better you get, the more you realize how much more you can still improve. So you'll never arrive on it. Get onto that road and stay on that journey to excellence and stay on it for the rest of your career. And a final point, if you do not love your current job enough to want to be the best at it, then you must get out of it and get out of it as fast as you can, because you'll never be successful and you'll never be happy unless you love your work enough to want to be the very best there is.